Okay, if you are going to review a movie about the Kingsman, you have to look the part. Kingsman, The Golden Circle, directed by Matthew Vaughn once again, starring Taron Egerton, Mark Strong, Sophie Cookson, Jeff Bridges, Channing Tatum, Pedro Pascal, Halle Berry, Julianne Moore, and Colin Firth. This movie brings back Taron Egerton as Eggsy, the spy that works for the organization known as Kingsman, that has a British tailor shop as a front. They had to go up against an evil drug lord known as Poppy, played by Julianne Moore, who has all of her henchmen embedded with a golden circle as a tattoo. She has laced all the illegal drugs in the country, opium, cannabis, heroin, and some other substances with this poison that can kill people. So it's up to the Kingsmen to stop her, but Poppy has learned the location of the Kingsman headquarters and the location of many of the Kingsman agents, so she kills most of them with the exception of our two main characters, Eggsy and Merlin. So even Roxy gets killed. That sucks. I wanted to see her get more character development and action scene in this movie, because she didn't get much character development in the first one, but nope, let's kill her off. That kind of sucks. So in order to stop Poppy, Eggsy and Merlin had to join forces with the American counterpart independent spy agency known as the Statesman. And these agents are named after different brands of alcohol. You got Jeff Bridges' character who runs the place, Champ, and the two main agents that you meet are Pedro Pascal's character, Whiskey, and Channing Tatum's character, Tequila, who gets sidelined through most of the movie. Channing Tatum's barely in this film, unfortunately. So the main agent that Eggsy and Merlin had to team up with is Whiskey, Pedro Pascal's character, to go up against Julianne Moore. And back from the dead comes Harry Hart, Colin Firth's character, and that's pretty much our movie. Now, I loved the first Kingsman movie. It was such a great spy film, and Taron Egerton was great in the movie. I did like Colin Firth as the mentor. I thought he was great in the film. Mark Strong was great in it. I did like Sophie Cookson, even though she didn't get much character development in that film. And Samuel L. Jackson was a great villain in that first movie. So when I heard that Matthew Vaughn was going to come back to direct the sequel, I thought, awesome, because he didn't direct the second Kick-Ass movie, and that movie wasn't as good as the first one. So I thought he was going to do a better job with this movie than the director of Kick-Ass 2 did with that movie. And unfortunately, the quality within this movie versus Kick-Ass 2 is a little bit lower, I think. I think I like Kick-Ass 2 more than this one, because this movie copies a lot of cliches that are in the movie Men in Black 2 by bringing back the mentor with amnesia and getting rid of the female agents, just like in that movie. So let's talk about the positives of this movie first. Taron Egerton is excellent once again as Eggsy. I already did like him in the movie. Merlin, Mark Strong's character, is great in the movie as well, and it is pretty good seeing Colin Firth back in the movie. I did like Julianne Moore as the villain, and I did like her robotic dogs that she had in her hideaway. Her hideaway is this hideout in these abandoned ruins that she's renovated to make it look like a 50s place. She also has this singer that she keeps hostage, which acts as a cameo, but the cameo goes on for a little bit too long. I'll get into that later on in the review. I did like Pedro Pascal's character as Whiskey and his electric lasso. I thought that was very cool. I did like that Taron Egerton gets a love interest in this movie. The first movie, he had sex with a woman who was a princess, Princess Tildy, played by Hannah Alstrom. And she comes back in this movie as Eggsy's love interest, which I thought was very cool, even though she doesn't get much character development in this film and not much room to develop any real chemistry. I thought they were pretty cute together, though. The action in the movie was very good, too. And that's pretty much it for the positives. Now let's talk about the negatives, because this movie has quite a few negatives. First off, I don't know if it was such a great idea to bring Colin Firth back if you're just going to repeat the cliches from Men in Black 2. I mean, that kind of sucks, really, that you're doing that with giving him amnesia, and he's not totally up to par as he was in the first movie. It takes a little bit time for him to get totally up to full strength, really, that he was in the first movie. Then there's the fact that Julianne Moore is a pretty weak villain. She spends her whole time in the movie in the hideaway. She doesn't really leave the hideaway all that much, so she doesn't really feel all that menacing. Her motivation behind her plan with the poison, what she really wants to do, that doesn't really totally make sense, really, because she wants to make all drugs legal, but that would actually hurt her business more than help it, if you really think about it, so that makes no sense, really. And the plot gets a little bit convoluted when you add the appearance of Bruce Greenwood as the President of the United States, and there's a twist behind Pedro Pascal's character. The cameo that we have in this movie was given way too much screen time, almost to the point that the cameo feels like a supporting character. And I don't want to spoil who the cameo is, but you'll know it when you see it. And basically, this movie just wasn't as good as the first one. The movie was very enjoyable, very entertaining, but it wasn't that good. And if you were to compare this to the other sequel to a Matthew Vaughn film, Kick-Ass 2, that film is actually better. I think that film is done with better quality than this film is. And that film's not even directed by Matthew Vaughn. This film is, so there is much that could have been done that could have made this film better, really, I think. The fact that you don't give Channing Tatum much screen time either, and Halle Berry has this arc that she wants to work in the field, but she doesn't really get that arc totally earned within the movie, really. So overall, even though I did like this movie, I do think it's a bit of a disappointment, so I'm going to give this movie a B-. It is worth seeing in the theater, but it is a bit of a letdown, and that's all I gotta say for Kingsman 2: The Golden Circle.